What's going on, guys? All right. I wonder. Oh, you can move this around. That is so cool. As you guys can see, I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's do this. Wonder if I can screen share this. What's going on? Roger, Victor, how you guys doing? Okay, give me a moment, guys. I want to get this stuff going for you because there's a lot of stuff we need to go on. So give me a moment to get this figured out. And I'm a little bit sad because Marlon's not going to be here today, which is really depressing for me in a massive way. Okay, give me one sec, guys. So as I'm getting this going, I'm just getting Instagram going on at the same time. As I'm getting this going, a lot of you guys Marlon's great. Marlon's fantastic. He just is he's just super tired, super under the weather. I think he got sick doing Marlon things. I think what was happening is that there was a lot of females in Phoenix who just, they heard that he was single, and it became really, really troubling for them because they just wanted him a lot. And then what ended up happening is like he had 50 to 75 women who were just chasing around Phoenix all day. And if you guys know Marlon, he can run. He can run a lot, but I think after running 100 miles, he just couldn't handle it anymore. So he texted me and he was just like, dude, I can't do this anymore. I'm just so dead. And so we're going to hold it down today while he goes and recovers. And hopefully the women of Phoenix, Arizona can have a chance. That's just what we'll see. Okay, let me do this. Boom, that's going to go there. Okay. Let me know in the chat, were you guys able to get through to the training this past Sunday or no? I hate the delay here. Oh my God, it's a massive delay. Okay. So I think most of you guys, yeah. Okay. Rachel said she didn't make it. Roger, you did make it. Sweet. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. There were people who were joining up to an hour and a half early. Up to an hour and a half early. And it was a really kind of interesting space where I wasn't even in the Zoom at all. I was not going to be there that early. And people are DMing me and they're like, hey, taking videos. Like someone, I forgot who it was. I think it was maybe Deborah. And she DMs me and she records a video of herself along with like 10, 15 other people in the Zoom an hour and a half early. And they're there. Like they didn't just like log in and leave. Like they were engaging and talking with each other and all that kind of good stuff. And so it was really, really cool to see. But for anyone that didn't get in, this past Sunday's training was really interesting. And yeah, Rachel, it was a tricky thing for me because I wanted to try something new and I wanted to try finally just capping one of my rooms because I normally never do that. And I normally just kind of let everyone in. And so we had almost 700 people register, but the Zoom, I said it's only allow 100 just to see how it would work and see if people would even show up or if it would be, how it would play out. And what we ended up doing was creating this like Zoom Hunger Games kind of situation. And where it was like the first 100, that was it. And the really cool thing, and I'm super honored about this, is that there was 100 people the entire time through, like all 100 people the entire time through. And that number didn't drop. And if it did drop, it went to like 99 or 98. Within a minute, someone got in. And there was like people who got in an hour and a half later, 2 hours in. And it was funny because they were in the chat, like, I've been trying for 2 hours to get in. I just got in. And so that was amazing to see people's persistence in it. But like the reason why all of this matters is because we wanted to do a training specifically on optimization, right? There's so many people who are just, let me see if I can actually do this. I wonder if I can just share this. I'll share some of the intro slides with you guys and then see if that works. Hmm. Aha. Okay, so I see that. Let's see. Okay, I can't see. Oh, this is what I can do. Sweet. You guys see this? I think you guys should be able to see this. Let's see. Let's click on this and then let's hit. There's a button here somewhere that says present. I do not know where the button. Maybe hit slideshow? Not now. Oh, no way. That's crazy. Okay, whatever. We're just going to do it with this. Okay, so this training specifically wasn't about anything other than hit from beginning. Love the Beeple graphics. I have no idea what Beeple is, but the where the fuck does it say the beginning? Ah, there you go. Yeah, but then I can't see you guys. See, that's the problem. If I go here, my screen, even though I'm using two monitors, goes straight to this. So forget that. But anyways, yes, 100%. I absolutely made this graphic myself. I did not. Microsoft PowerPoint was like, here, try this. And I'm like, sweet, it looks good. But anyways, the whole point of this is in this industry, there's this prevalence of people talking about scale, right? Just everyone keeps talking about the word scale. And people make it out to be the most important thing ever. And it's the clickbait that gets everyone interested. And I know because I talk about scale a lot because it's actually what makes me tick. And 100%, I get why people care about it. The whole idea is that you can go scale and buy a Lamborghini and scale and buy a yacht or buy develop a skyscraper or something. People just want to grow. I totally get that. The problem with scaling is that scaling is a result. It is a side effect of doing very key things. And no one in the business actually, so guys, if you guys run a business and you're doing over $1 million a year and you want to go and hit 2 million next year, right? Let's say you did $1 million in 2024 and in 2025, you want to hit 3 million or 5 million or 10 million. Well, naturally, we all think the word scale. We're just going to pour gasoline on the fire in marketing and then, it's just magically going to happen. And that is not the case at all. The reality is when you pour gasoline on the fire of anything, what ends up happening is everything blows up. Everything blows up. And that is the reality of just pouring more marketing dollars on things. And this is why you always hear this term or this phrase of people who have scaled. You'll very often hear this phrase of we scaled too fast. And so what ends up happening is people will work so long and so many years to get into the 7-figure club, right? The 7-figure year club. And that's difficult. It's super difficult to go from 5 figures to 6 figures, 6 figures to 7 figures, because it's a massive uptake. And then what ends up happening is this: when people get to 7 figures, one of two things happens from my observation. And let me know if you guys have seen this too. But what ends up happening is people will either pour gasoline on the fire and they will just quadruple their marketing spend. And then they will go and hit 10 million the next year. They'll hit 8 figures. But I've noticed this almost always happens when they do that. They get demoted almost instantly back to 7 figures. Why? Because I have friends of mine who run companies and they've gone from $1 million a year, 2 million a year, and then in the next year they go from 2 million all the way to 9.8, 9.9. I know a friend who went from 1.1 million their first year, and then in their second year, I think they hit 9.7 million, which is I'm just going to call it 8 figures, effectively rounded up to 8 figures. And what ends up happening is their entire business blew up. Everything blew up, right? Marketing, sure, was great, but the sales team couldn't handle the leads that were coming in. And then what ended up happening is they were breaking compliance because the sales team started taking shortcuts to sell all the leads that were coming in. And because so many leads were coming in and they couldn't work the leads properly the way they should have and handle them properly, you had all these leads that were not followed up with, or they slipped through the cracks, or they didn't have a phenomenal experience. And whether or not they worked with your business or not is irrelevant. What ends up happening is they had a bad, negative experience with your company, and they're going to go spread that. So your brand reputation gets diluted in a really negative way. And then what ends up happening on the side effect, right? You have all these payments coming in 9.7. People are selling in less than amazing ways. They're, the sales process may not be up to the strictest, most ethical standards. And then what ends up happening for them when you go from 1.2 million in a year all the way to 9.7 the next year, all you have is disputes and chargebacks and issues with your payment processors because you all of a sudden, if you're, let's just say you're using Stripe, they want you to make money. Stripe, all the red flags will be alerted when you go from 1 million in a year all the way to almost 10 million the next. And so what ends up happening is their payment processing starts getting slowed down, right? And what ends up happening, if you guys have ever been in any service business, you guys may have heard of this. Stripe, PayPal, and a bunch of the other ones, they will withhold your funds. And so even though you transacted a couple $1,000,000, you know what ends up happening? Stripe will hold a couple of those $1,000,000 and they won't pay them out to you because they're worried about the red flags, their algorithms set off, and then you have to jump through hoops for a month or two to be able to get your funds out. But here's the key though. Now you don't have the revenue that just came in. It's captured, it's there, but you can't use it because it's locked. And what does that do? It creates a trickle effect on your ability to fulfill on the clients who just signed on with you. So you had all these clients pay you $9-10 million over the course of this year, right? Let's just say let's say 1 month you do $1 million, right? You do $1 million a month. Awesome. Stripe withholds 800,000 of it, 80% of it, because Stripe's red flags have been alerted. Cool. What's not going to happen is you're not going to be able to have the money to go and pay for your employees, pay for your systems, pay for your deliverables to your customers. And then now you have even more unhappy customers going and spreading negative things about you. And this happens all the time to people who scale too quickly. So your sales, you think they're great, they're not great. Your standards will slip, right? You may be selling more dollars, but your retention, which means how long are people actually going to stick with you and keep paying you, or how long are they going to continue to be clients? What's going to end up happening is the numbers are going to go lower and lower and lower. And then the negativity about your brand is going to spread higher and higher and higher. And then on top of that, you have employees who churn out because employees, a lot of these businesses nowadays, especially in the real estate industry, are they're virtual overseas. And for a lot of these places, especially in the Philippines, guys, like you can't withhold funds or salaries from a lot of Filipino workers right now because they actually need the funds to live and pay for their bills and this, that, and the other. They don't have as many of the safety nets that we do here in the States, that we have here in the States. And so what ends up happening is your business just implodes. Everything that you thought was good about scaling literally will implode your business. And so with that entrepreneur, I think it set them back 2-3 years of having to clean the mess up and then having to optimize. And this is the key. It's not scaling. That is actually the wrong word. I'm going to keep using the word scale on social media and all these things because it attracts people to the door. But scale is a side effect. It is a result. It is something you unlock by doing optimization first. And so that's what I really want to hit on. And I don't think anyone in the industry is really talking about it very much at all, unless it's behind a $30,000, paywall. And at that point, it becomes unreasonable or unfeasible for most of us. And if you're trying to grow your business, you probably can't spend $30,000 or 25 or 20 grand for someone to teach you how to optimize your business. You need to optimize your business first to then go and get the 20 grand and get the 30 grand. And so the whole point of this entire thing is that I've been having a lot of people who are followers of mine message me on social media who've gone and bought so many people's stuff, so many influencer stuff, right? They're buying 20K, 25K, 30K, 10K mentorships. And then that's not just it. They're buying the mentorships. And then this is the other key that I'm seeing so much here. What's up, Don Rich? Good to see you, brother. I'm just seeing this across the board. When you get into these high ticket places, you're going to drop 20, 25, 30K just to be in the room. And then while you're in the room, they tell you the key to scale is this very dangerous thing that I absolutely hate. And it is to just go start more marketing channels. Just go start more marketing channels. And that's the biggest issue that I see across the board, because that's not the answer. That is not the answer. And there's very few, if you actually look at high degree wealth studies of people who've absolutely crushed it, 9-figure net worth, some even 10-figure net worth, almost all of their wealth was based on 1 to 2 things at most. And then if you look at those companies that they raised and that they grew, for the longest time, a lot of those companies only had 1 to 2 different marketing channels. They didn't have 19 different channels. And here's the issue with a lot of us. I want us to be very, very self-aware here. If you're starting cold calling, there's levels to cold calling. There's levels to you cold calling as the business owner. There's levels to you hiring someone like a virtual assistant overseas. There are levels to you hiring someone from one country to the other. Just so you guys know, hiring someone from the Philippines versus Egypt versus Colombia for cold calling, different levels to the game. Different levels of their skill set, different cultural aspects of it, different levels of you being able to lead and delegate properly to set them up to succeed. There's so much involved there. And then when you get to like what I call level 3 of the cold calling game, it's when you start bringing it in-house and you bring it domestic. You have American cold callers. So for like me, with some of the really niche stuff that we do, we have American cold callers or people who are stateside. They cost a lot of money up front, but it's the highest level of optimization. Our KPIs are phenomenal because of this. And so what I want you all to really start doing mentally is reframing the idea that I will grow my business by pouring more marketing dollars on it. And everyone in this industry talks about it. And they're going to push you. Like, here's the reality. 3 years ago, Don Rich is here. He's been in the game for a long time. Don Rich probably remembers this. 10 years ago, it was all direct mail. Okay. Everyone was pushing direct mail. 3 years ago, cold call, when I got into the industry, cold call was cold call and texting were the biggest ones. And then the last year and a half, I would say, PPL has had this tremendous kind of uptick. And obviously PPC crushes across the board for the most part. But now what we're seeing now is cold calls phasing out, or texting is phasing out because of regulations. And then everyone moved to PPL, but now PPL is phasing out because of regulations. And we're starting to see a lot of stuff hit the fan with PPL because of compliance. And so we're seeing government, like the federal government's getting involved in regulating PPL with the 1-to-1 consent rule. I'm not going to talk too much about it here. I'll probably hit on it a little bit, but I actually did a full episode of Think Big specifically about that ban because it's going to affect in a little over a month now. And so if your entire business is built on PPL, like, you're going to be in for a very rude awakening. And it's going to be very difficult for you to continue, not just like forget growing your business, but just to sustain your business profitably. It's going to be very difficult for you to do it. And so what I want everyone to start understanding is, I mean, Don hit it. Marketing is cyclical. And I've said this all the time. Marketing is very much a cyclical thing, and you have to be ahead of it. And so a lot of people, if you haven't been in the game for 5 years, heck, I haven't even been in the game for 5 years. I just hit my 3-year mark. If I try to do calling and texting and PPL and PPC and direct mail, because I went and paid an influencer 25 grand and they told me to go do all of these things to have quote unquote diversified marketing, all that's going to happen is I'm going to burn a hole in my wallet and I'm going to go broke and I'm going to go out of business because I didn't solve, or I didn't pay down the ignorance debt for each campaign specifically. Calling has levels. Texting has levels. And if you don't optimize each one before the other, and you just try to start more, you're going to have calling at level 1. You're going to have texting at level 2. You're going to have PPL at level 0.5 because you probably suck at it. And then you're going to spend all this money trying to solve a problem. And you can't, because your KPIs are messy. You can't focus in on what to actually tweak in the business. And we're going to hit on a few things that I think are really important about it. Ooh, this is so good. Don Rich says your favorite influencer is selling you what they did, not what they're doing. And Don, dude, I love the influencers in the industry, most of them. And the reality is, this is raw truth. It's not even that this is what they did. It's just, out of all of the products and bases out there, which one is the highest payer in affiliate? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm not here to bash on people who make money in affiliates. I make money through affiliates every now and then too. I just don't push them too much. But I know which companies pay you the highest dollar amount for affiliate. And this is why, like PPC, PPL companies, there's a reason why so many influencers are pushing them. It's not even to do with the results, like the provable results of the marketing metrics. It has to do very much with the fact that, like, there's companies where you send them someone, they will literally send you between $1,000 to $2,000 like within a month. And it becomes very easy to make 50 grand a year minimum. just through that affiliate funnel. So I don't want to hit on that too much. Let's go through this. I'll go through some of these intros, and I want to talk about just a few of the main things that really stick out to me, the key points that I want people to take home. Let's do this. What was next? Oh, yeah, this was me introducing myself. Hey, guys, that's me. That's me, my dog's at the beach. That's me speaking on stage. That's Ace. But you guys are my people. You already know this. What's next? Oh, yeah, why you should listen to me. Credibility stuff. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Here's the big thing. People suck at business. Why are we doing this? People suck at business. You will run into invisible walls. And I want you guys to know this. I talked about this on Think Big a few weeks ago. And the whole idea is this, is that people are like, well, should I do one thing? Should I do two things? Should I do three things? Here's the thing. When you go and do direct to agent specifically, okay, or cold call direct to seller specifically, you are inevitably going to hit an invisible wall. Okay, you're gonna make up to, let's just say, 50,000. Or let's just say you hit 250,000. Okay, in a given year doing direct to agent with creative financing specifically, like that one strategy. You're going to hit an invisible wall, and you don't know why. Okay, you have no idea what's happening. You have no idea what's happening. Why can't you break through and hit 500,000, 750, a million? And the reason isn't because DTA creative finance can't be scaled, right? I think it can. The reality is you need to solve problems that you haven't ever solved before, and no one is solving them for you and giving them to you for free, or giving you the answers for free. And so you have this thing called an ignorance debt that you need to pay down. And the problem is this, is that if you don't learn to get through it at least one or two times in one method, it's going to be very difficult for you to just adopt a new channel and then try to do it then. Because if you say, well, you know what, screw it. Direct to agent PPL sucks, or direct to agent creative financing sucks. I'm going to go texting to direct to sellers for cash deals with high equity. Awesome model, great model, cool. Same thing. You might hit your wall at 300,000, 350,000. But the same invisible wall is going to be there, and you're not going to know why you can't break through it, and you're going to blame the channel. And every other influencer on earth is going to tell you, well, don't do that. Yeah, because texting sucks, and texting's illegal, and this, that, and the other. You should instead go to digital inbound and only do PPL. Here's my link. Awesome. You're going to go do that, and you're going to hit 500K, and then you're going to hit a wall. All of this has to do with the fact that the methods are all scalable. I've taken independent marketing channels up to 20 deals per month. We even took one marketing channel to 40 deals in a month. 40. Here's the key. All we did is learn how to optimize each one before we move to the next. Optimization is all that matters. When you get to the highest levels of masterminding and coaching, I'm at the point now where I'm investing heavily in CEO coaching that's one-on-one. I don't really care for mastermind rooms anymore with 100 people in them. I really want, if I'm in a mastermind aspect, 3 or 4 guys like at the most. And then from there, I just want one-on-one coaching that is very specific to my business. We don't talk about scale. We talk about optimizations. We talk about tweaks. We talk about tiny little things. And so I want you guys to be able to focus on that. And I'm telling you right now, if you're doing 5 deals per month and you are spending in terms of marketing dollars to do 5 deals per month, I promise you, you can very likely get to 10 deals per month without having to spend more money on marketing. All that you're going to do is you've already spent the money. You've already generated the opportunities. All you need to go do is go and clean up and optimize the production you've already created. You need to make it more efficient. And when you make it more efficient, it becomes more effective. So if you're doing 5 and you're spending on 5, trust me, you can probably get to 7, 8, 9, 10 almost predictably by cleaning things up. But we need to go over some key things first. Oh, I made everybody write this down who's on the training. For all 100 people, it was awesome to see this. Guys, write this down. This is like one critical freaking key point that everyone needs to understand. This is like the holy grail in business growth. All businesses will continue to grow until their point of constraint and will grow no further. What that simply means is this. When we start doing something, okay, when we start an activity or a marketing channel or a method or a strategy or whatever the hell you're doing, based on how you're doing it, the people you have, their skill sets, the money you're spending, and the systems you've put in place, okay, you're going to start getting results. What you don't know is that your results will be capped. Your cap is already almost preset. Almost any given method of doing things, you can determine based on the initial setup what their ceiling will be. I know if it's just me cold calling myself, right? Even though I'm really freaking good at it, I know that I will hit a wall, an invisible wall, because I can only do so much myself without leveraging other people, process systems, and things, right? Um, ooh, I love this. Don Rich says, funny how this stuff is not industry specific. Our mental health coach spoke about the exact same thing for scaling our clinic. And dude, Don, 100%, Don, you and I have talked about business quite a bit. And you know that, like, I don't care about real estate as a business specifically. Like, I don't care, like, houses or houses, four walls, a roof, and a mortgage. Like, that's real estate to me. I care about businesses. And fundamentally, all businesses can be pretty more or less grown the same way. And this quote right here, right? All businesses will continue to grow until the point of constraint and will grow no further, literally applies to every business you could ever think of. And so when you start understanding these parameters, right? I want everyone here who's watched Thinks Big, right? Follows Marlon, follows me. I want everyone here to do things and think about things so goddamn big. They're so far beyond real estate. That's why this podcast is called Think Big. And so understand that everything you do, every method, every strategy, every idea, every model, you may be getting deals. You may start getting 2 deals, 3 deals a month. Next month, you do 5 deals. Next month, you do 6 deals. The next month, you do 15 deals. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to be like, oh my God, I am going to ride this into the sunset because it's just going to keep going up and up and up. And I'm just going to achieve scale. No, you will hit a constraint. You will hit a bottleneck. And the bottleneck was actually predetermined based on the setup of the machine. Like, that is it. That is fundamentally it. And so I want to hit on some key topics that are really, really important. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. Okay, let's do this. Ugh, that's terrible. One sec, guys. Oh, that's how we do it. Un momento. Ooh, let's bring this back up. Okay, I want to hit on this really quick. 2 very, very, very important things, okay, that I want everyone to talk about, and then we'll get into some of the meat of it. So, actually, I'm going to start with types of businesses. And types of business is really important. And it's a lesson that I've learned and I've seen the pattern in, but it really clicked in my brain thanks to the billionaire Mark Cuban. So if you guys watch Shark Tank, let me know if you guys watch Shark Tank. Does anyone here watch Shark Tank? Put in the chat. Let me know. So I want to be able to see if or am I just weird? Am I the only one? I feel like I don't meet a lot of people that watch Shark Tank, but I think it's such a cool show. Anyways, on an episode of Shark Tank, Mark Cuban, if you haven't seen it, it's a show where up and coming business owners go and they go and pitch a bunch of gajillionaires on their business ideas, right? And I love the show because yes, is it Hollywood? Is it, not maybe always the most upfront? Sure. But I think fundamentally, there's a lot of great principles that come out of Shark Tank. And so what ended up happening, there was this uncle and nephew kind of duo, right? And they were like these European guys, and they were swimmers their whole lives. They were like competitive swimmers. And they had this company. And what their company did specifically was, I'm just realizing the word no right here, KNOW, has a red line underneath it. Am I tripping? Okay, it didn't change anything, and then it corrected it. Awesome. So they go to the Shark Tank, and then they basically pitch this idea. They have this company, right? And if you guys have ever gone swimming with goggles, right? Maybe when you were kids and your parents made you wear goggles. You guys know how those goggles were the tightest freaking things on earth, and then somehow, some way, no matter what, water always got into the goggles. And you're just sitting there as a kid, like these goggles are supposed to make sure you can see under the water. Water always gets in and it makes it worse, and you can't see anything. The reality is, because goggles aren't one size fits all, even though they all say one size fits all or one size fits most, right? The reason why is because everyone's skulls are shaped differently, your faces are shaped differently, right? The bridge of your nose is different, your brow is different. And so what this company did, really cool idea. They basically have an app on their phone and it basically scans your face, right? And it has like this 3D imaging process. And what they do is they make goggles that are custom fitted. The frame of the goggle is custom fitted to fit your face. And so there's a basically guarantee that water will never get in, and it's custom per person. And did this great company doing great numbers very deep in the swimming goggle space. And they were pitching and pitching, and all the other sharks were basically asking about revenue and sales and profits and manufacturing costs and this, that, and the other. And then Mark Cuban eventually at some point asked a very specific question. He says, how are you making these? How are you like are you using like a Chinese manufacturer? What are you doing? And they said, no, we have like robotics that do it. And he's like, okay, well, who made the robotics? Like, who owns the robots? And they said, we built them. We built the entire assembly process, start to finish, design, manufacturing, all of it. And then Mark Cuban just stopped. And he's like, guys, you think you're in the goggle business. You think you're in the swimming business. You are absolutely not. He's like, and because of that, your business projections are all off. What you're in is a robotics manufacturing business, and you just happen to make swimming goggles. You're in a totally different business than you think you are. And therefore, your ceiling is a lot damn higher than you thought it was. And so I believe Mark's the one who ended up pitching on that company. I think they worked out a deal. Last time I checked earlier this year, I think they were at like $300 million. Huge, huge. Fundamentally, because they understood the type of business they are actually in. And so if you're a wholesaler, or if you're a lender, or if you're doing honestly a lot of businesses, right? Cold calling, texting, whatever, all these things in the wholesale space, or if you're a flipper and you're marketing for deals, if you're any form of marketing and like you're trying to convert people, you do this with lending, agents do this all the time, you're really fundamentally not even in a real estate business. And also half of your business is like, if you're a lender, you're not really in the finance business either. You think you are. You're actually in the sales and marketing business. And so fundamentally, all sales and marketing businesses are going to have the same growth paths, and they're also going to have the same constraints. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, for a business that is specifically about lending, how do you grow it? Generate more leads. You market more, generate more leads, right? And invest more dollars. That's it. Marketing and sales. Wholesale, same thing. Whether it's cold call, texting, direct mail, PPC, door knocking, whatever you do, it's all marketing and sales. And when you take that 10,000 foot step back and you start understanding this, you're going to realize, oh shit, it's all the same, and I can approach it all the same and have more predictability. And so what I really want to hit on is this, is no one talks about this. It's logistical drag. And I've never, I didn't hear that term anywhere else. I just kind of came up with it. And I'm sure there is a term for it. I don't know. But logistical drag is specifically this. And it's something that very experienced people consider all the time innately, and newer and intermediate people do not at all. And it's why newer and intermediate people, it takes them a lot longer to see results than advanced people, not because of their skill sets. Like, don't get me wrong, skill sets are important, but it's usually not because of their skill sets. It's usually because the advanced people understand logistical drag and how to optimize for it. And so here's what logistical drag is. A lot of people think that the constraint in starting a PPC campaign in Las Vegas, Nevada, the constraint is going to be the fact that you got to spend 10 grand a month minimum, right? 10, 15 grand a month minimum just to have results. They think it's a financial constraint. And then that's all they think about. And then so what do? They go and get the money for it. They're like, cool, I'm a good closer. I'm going to close all the deals. Awesome. That's it. And they think they've solved the problem. They've solved the constraint. They've only solved one constraint, and that's the finances of it. But the finances of it, in my opinion, are very often the easiest constraints to solve and they're actually the easiest ones to get through and overcome, because you just swipe a freaking credit card and then it's done. The ones that are very hard to get through are the logistical constraints, because they're very hard to map for and they're very hard to work through. And if you're already experiencing them, your business is already fundamentally flawed. And so the logistical drag of launching a PPC campaign specifically in Las Vegas, Nevada, or Los Angeles, or Phoenix, Arizona, or Miami, Florida, or Orlando, Florida, or any major market, I'm just using this as an example, isn't the 10, 15 grand a month in ad spend. It's the fact that you now need a closer, not a not an appointment setter, not a lead manager, not a cold caller, not in, an overseas intake center. You need a high tier skilled closer who basically has access to their phone at all times, because as soon as the lead comes in, you have to get on the phone with them in 30 seconds or less. That's the reality. Why? Because they're going to go fill out someone else's lead form and get contacted by someone else. So you now need the high tier person. There's logistics involved with that. Now it's their salary. Now it's their work expectation. Now it's their sales process, right? It's making sure that they're accountable. Cool. Now you need a system, a phone system that allows for that. And there's logistical constraints with that. It's the system itself, the cost of the system, integrating it, making sure it doesn't break all the time. When you launch a new ad campaign and you launch a new funnel, guess what? That system constraint is going to come up again and again and again, because you have to keep resetting it to attach it to the new stuff. Awesome. What else is there? There's so many more. Same thing with direct mail. Same thing with direct to agent. Same thing with cold calling. It's not just the money. It's all of the logistics involved. And you have to understand that as you grow as a business owner, you want to optimize. Very honestly, in my opinion, I could be wrong here, but where I'm at right now, I don't care to optimize for the finances too much. I care about optimizing for the logistics, because if I can smooth out the logistical drag, I can force grow the business a lot easier. I can go get the money. Raising capital is a very simple thing to do, but solving for logistical constraints, you're now solving for systems issues, people issue, labor issue. And those are things that you can't just swipe a credit card and fix. Right? So I want people to be very aware when you start thinking about, oh, cool. Well, because so-and-so influencer told me to go and do, predictive data, and I want to go spend $3,000 a month on predictive data and then send out, 10,000 mailers a month, or hire cold callers. Let's say you're going to hire cold callers for that. Cool. The financial drag, $3,000 a month for the data. Not world ending for a lot of people, but what's going to kill you? The logistical drag for training, like going and hiring, training, retaining 3 quality cold callers, managing them, managing their systems, managing their work hours, managing the fact that they actually show up and do the thing they're supposed to do. They're held accountable. The leads are being sent in properly. A lot of people won't even talk about this. One of the most annoying things that's going to happen, that's going to consistently rear its ugly head, is the fact that the cold callers are using something, their phone number's keeping marked spam, so they can't get through to the prospect. And when they do get through the prospect, the web form that you give them to funnel leads from their system into your CRM, that integration keeps breaking. And then all these things are happening. It's pulling you back into the business, and you can't focus on bigger and better things. All of these things are logistical drag. And so I want you guys to think about all of these things, not from a financial perspective or the financial constraints, but the actual logistical constraints. Because logistics, the only way to solve logistics very often is either with your time or other people's time. And honestly, that can be very difficult too, because you might need very skilled people, and skilled people are hard to get. So I'm going to talk about this. Let's see. What does Victor say? So honestly, I've been in the field of optimization, not scale, for the last 11 years, but seemed like I could not find out how to get paid well for it, because all the money was in sales and marketing. Victor, very true. So here's the thing. Sales and marketing is super sexy, right? Super sexy. I can go and talk to a new company tomorrow, and I can say, hey, I can go generate you 100 leads. I can put together a sales team and close all those leads for you, and I can guarantee an increase to your top line revenue, right? But that's super sexy. It's super sellable. aka sales and marketing, very sellable. But the reality of sales and marketing is it only affects the top line very often. It doesn't affect the bottom line, right? And the bottom line is what? Your actual profit. It's actually what you're taking home as a business owner, or your business is taking home at the end of the day. And guess what's also based on that? Guess what's based on profit? Your company's value, your enterprise value. So if you want to grow something and sell it and sell it for 50 million or sell it for 100 million and make a massive exit, you want to become a billionaire one day, your revenue number doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is your profit, is your bottom line. Sales and marketing really helps you force the top line, but optimization helps you force the bottom line. And the bottom line is the most important thing. That's the key with all of this. And so, but Victor, to your point, yeah, there's going to be more opportunities in working in the sales and marketing. Is way more, because it's so much more marketable. That's just the way it is. But here's the key. If you can actually crush with optimization, and you can put together an offer that can guarantee some level of effective results for actual optimization, and you can prove to businesses, hey, I can take you from $1 million a year where you're at a 20% margin. And then by working with my team for 3, 4, 5 months, I can guarantee we'll get you to a 35% profit margin in that 5 months. Cool. Then you can walk yourself into equity in the business. Very often, this is a lot of people will do this. This is their method of acquiring businesses or getting ownership in other businesses. They'll actually prove and they know very simply how to forcefully optimize things, and they'll basically guarantee themselves equity that way. Or you can very often charge a very high ticket dollar amount for that service. Why? And they'll pay it because usually the companies who are now thinking about optimization, they're usually not beginners. They're usually not newbies. They've been doing this. They've got the experience. They just need to try to get over this hurdle, and they're usually willing to pay to play. But optimization is not talked about very much at all. So you guys can see I am big on businesses. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start going over some of these things that I really want to hit on with the time that we have. I'm going to hit on this really quick while I pull this up. Victor says, I was bad at sales, and so I could not sell it. Okay. That is why I am learning sales through the medium of real estate. So he's using real estate to work on his sales skill set, right? And then hopefully be able to upsell himself. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I think wholesale real estate is an okay business model. I don't think it's a great one. If you guys don't know, you guys, and anyone who tells you otherwise is basically lying to you. You can't sell a wholesale real estate business for any measurable multiplier unless it's to your friend. Like, that's just it. Like, no gigantic private equity fund's going to come and offer you $100 million for your wholesale business, no matter how much money it makes at all. I've never seen it be done. I've seen people sell it to their best friends. I've seen people buy out their partners and then they call it a sale, but there's no marketplace value for a real estate wholesale business at the end of the day. There's no enterprise value. But here's the thing though. I still wholesale. And I want you all to wholesale. Why? Because you get a masterclass in optimizing a marketing and sales business, and you can market, generate leads, create sales teams, grow them. You learn how to generate leads, market for leads, which is generating leads, create teams to sell the leads, basically get them to convert, which is an extremely high tier skill set. You're getting leadership, delegation training, the whole nine. Huge. You do that, you can go and acquire other businesses, start other businesses, do the whole nine. I am with it all day. So let me do this. Let's go here. And then, okay, I want to hit on this. Okay, so I'm going to say this, I'm going to explain it. When optimizing business campaigns, okay, whatever you're trying to optimize, if your business is, let's just say, predominantly on cold call, you see the scenario all the time. I get this all the time with people who follow me and they DM me and they're like, hey, Sam, I've got cold callers, and the cold callers are VAs, virtual assistants, whatever, and they're just not performing. They suck. They're not generating leads. Or, hey, Sam, I use so-and-so's VA company and I'm not getting leads and they suck and I'm going to fire them, or I want a new one, or I want a refund, or whatever the hell it is. And so what they're very often doing is they're saying, hey, at that point in the campaign, the VA, that's where their mindset is, right? They're talking about that one specifically, okay? They think that's the point of constraint. That's the point of optimization to talk about, is the VA and the VA skill set. Very often, the VA is not the problem. And so when you start optimizing things, understand that what you think is the issue is fundamentally, very often, not the issue. It is actually a byproduct, or what's happening with that. It is subperforming because of a lack of optimization of something 10 steps prior. So what happens usually, I'm literally going to break this down for you guys. So in a real estate wholesale business specifically that is doing, let's just say, cold calling, and you can apply the same methodology to texting, you can apply it to direct mail as well, because they're all built on this foundational point. So this is literally how it goes. Data sourcing, data pulling, data cleaning, systems, personnel, and then skills of personnel. Okay. Fundamentally, If you think your VA sucks, I can almost guarantee that the problem isn't the VA. The problem is going to be something before the VA. So how do you optimize first? You go and make sure your data sourcing is on point. The reality is if your data is being sourced from third-party vendors that are overseas and the data is inherently not motivated and it's old and it's stale and it's just pennies on the dollar, you got shit data. It's the way it is. So if you're using data platforms where you can pay $50 a month, $90 a month, $100 a month, and you can go pull 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 records a month doing that, it's crap data. Data, I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I'm in a mastermind with people. I think the lowest avatar in that room is making $1 million a year. Anywhere between, I think the average person is making between $1 million to $15 million a year. And all they do is talk about the importance of data. And like, there are people like selling lists of data in that group for tens of thousands of dollars. It's a very interesting, eye-opening place for me to be, because it shows, and I'm so used to paying $99 a month, you can go pull 20,000 records. Very interesting, very different. Why? When you have shitty, cheap data, you're going to get shitty, cheap results. So one, you have to make sure you got the proper data sourcing. It has to be sourced from the source, wherever it comes out. If it's publicly released, it needs to come directly from the source so you can prove that 50,000 other people don't have it, right? And this is, I'm going to put this here, where this is, I live by this phrase. I'm going to tailor this to data. You pull the same list from the same place as everyone else. Fundamentally, this is it. If your data sourcing is bad, where's your competitive advantage when you pull the same list from the same place as 50,000 other people? Do you have one? No, because now you're competing with 50,000 other people. They have more their teams may be bigger than yours, right? They may have more money so they can outspend you. They've maybe been in the business longer so they're more skilled than you. I know at the end of the day that if my team goes and pulls the same list as Don Rich, right? We go pull the same list as Don Rich in his market, in his team, in his market that he's been in, his team versus my team, I'm not sure who's going to come out on top of that. Because Don Rich may have more money than me. His team may be bigger than me. He may have more intricate knowledge of the market than I do. He may have closed more deals there, so he has a bigger credibility package. He may be more skilled. All of these things, they're all equalizers that we need to watch out for. And so when you fundamentally have the wrong data, everything else is going to be skewed. So what do? You get the right data first. So once you have the right data, you then go and make sure, right, the data sourcing is clean. And why do I say sourcing, pulling, and cleaning as three separate things? I mean this, whoever you buy it from. Most of you guys are buying data from providers, data providers, list pullers, list pull services, things like that. Where do they get the data from? That's the key. If you're going and paying $99 a month from Enter data software, they're not generating the data. They're usually, like 99% of these companies are just buying the data from a third-party provider and they're reselling it to you. Nothing wrong with that, but you need to understand that because it will have an effect on your campaign. Let's just say you've cleaned up the data sourcing and you've got a company that is 1 to 2 degrees away from like the best stuff there is. Awesome. Then you need to clean up your data pulling. The reality, when you go pull 10,000 records and you have to hyper stack it and you got to stack it in 19 different ways, it shows fundamentally the data is flawed. If the data was inherently motivated and data was inherently distressed, you wouldn't have to stack it a million different ways to come up with this magic list. And the reality is this magic list doesn't exist. And if it does exist, do you think out of the 50,000 other people who are competing with you in your given marketplace that you're magically going to come up with the right one that they're not? That you're going to filter the list a unique way that no one's ever done it before, even though there's 50,000 people using the same software as you? This is important to understand. Amar, dude, one day I don't know if I'd get a sleeve, but I'll definitely get that. Just so you guys know, I dislocated my shoulder this past weekend and shoulder's doing good, but everything else is in like tremendous pain. It sucks. It's terrible. Yeah, cool. Now that you've pulled the data and you can pull it cleanly and optimize the cleaning process, right? Or of the pulling process, sorry, and the filtering of it, then you actually have to do post-pull cleaning. Okay, now you have to remove all the junk. You have to remove people who don't actually own the properties. You're gonna have all these sellers that you think actually own the properties, but they don't control the deed on public record. So what do you got to do? You got to go make sure that they actually control the deed. You got to make sure they're not tenants. You got to make sure they're not renting, because if they don't own it, and you spend marketing dollars to them, you will not get a return on that marketing spend because they could never sell you the deal to begin with. Like, that is it. Like, people don't realize that. Once you've got that, then you have to think about, cool, which systems are we using to process the data and funnel the data? The dialers. And then, oh my God, dialers, right? You think that like systems, you think dialers included in that? Dialer is just one of the systems, not just your CRM, not your texting funnel. I think someone was asking about texting earlier, but it's like in your dialer, what are optimization points in your dialer? Amount of phone numbers, okay? Amount of phone numbers, spam reputation, number cycling, number priming, like all of these things. Like every single system has its own unique set of optimization points. Let's say you've optimized all your systems and then you go through your dialer, then you have enough phone numbers per area code, minimum 20, 30, 40, 50 numbers per area code. Then you're making sure you're monitoring spam to make sure that you're not using numbers that are constantly being spammed out because it's going to suppress you. You're not going to get through, right? And then you see that then you're cycling the numbers. So as soon as they do get spammed, you're immediately putting them on ice and getting a new one in. And then you're priming the numbers to make sure that the numbers are warmed up. So you're not dishing out 50 new calls every 5 minutes with a number that literally made no outbound calls in the last week. It's going to be a huge red flag with carriers. Then you can get into the personnel. Where are you hiring them? Are they a direct hire or using an agency? If you're using an agency, what practices do they have in sourcing this talent, in managing this talent? Once you say, yes, I've got the best agency on earth, I know their practices, they absolutely crush it, they have a great person, now you are allowed to question the skill of the person involved. This is what optimization at scale actually looks like. Remember that in this system, we were questioning whether or not the VA sucks. Like, unless you like openly just know that like you heard a call recording and the VA obviously sucks and they have no idea what they're doing, they're not listening to the script. Very often when you have all of these things, you need to go do this and then 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 this. And I would say the majority of times that you do this process, you're going to realize that what you thought was the issue was actually never the issue. It wasn't that the VA sucked. It's that they weren't pushing leads and they weren't generating leads because your phone numbers were all marked spam because you had shit phone numbers and you only had 10 of them in an area code and you were using them for the last 3 months and you're dialing a million different outbound dials a day with them. Of course there's spam. Of course the carrier is going to suppress your caller and your caller is not going to get through. And so when you have this happen, they're not going to push leads to your system. You're going to, from a 10,000 foot view as an owner, it's going to be like, well, they're not pushing leads. They suck. And then you're going to go and ask for a refund. And then what's going to end up happening is you're going to spend another month finding the next VA and they're going to run into the same issue. And what's going to happen is, this is what happens to business owners all the time. They will spin their wheels, banging their head against the wall for month after month after month after month, trying to solve a problem that they think is the problem. But the reality is they didn't understand how to optimize. So if it wasn't absolutely freaking clear, if you're doing direct mail, texting, or cold calling, the key to optimize all of them literally starts right here in these three. Literally, it is the foundation. So if you guys didn't know, data is the DNA of your business. If you have shit data, everything else will be suboptimal, just the way it is. So, okay. If you guys have questions on that, feel free to put in the chat or shoot me a DM on Instagram. Okay, let me look at the next one that I want to hit on. Oh, damn, we are running up on time. Great question. So Studio Off, it's a great name. As a noob with limited budget, I don't know how I would go about optimizing numbers 1, 2, and 3. Where can I learn? Right now, if you are new with a limited budget, your whole goal is not even to think about optimization yet. You have to create a level of entropy and distress before you can optimize anything. So right now, very often with newbies who are, if you're not spending enough and you're not generating enough entropy, which means you're not creating enough motion in the ecosystem, there is very often nothing to optimize. So don't get too far ahead of yourself. I want you generating leads in some deals, and it will be a suboptimal system, but you have to have something to start with. You may not have something to start with, but with you, if you want to start the most optimally, start with your data. Okay, so if you're pulling bulk lists from bulk data providers, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're paying anywhere between $50 to $150 a month to use a data pulling software that allows you to pull 10,000 records or more at any given moment, that is bulk data, right? And so I'll put that up here. Fundamentally, there are 3 tiers of data if you didn't know. Bulk data, and then, I mean, I shouldn't even talk about predictive data because it's basically bulk data that's just stacked. And then niche data. If you're brand new and you have a limited budget, throw both of these out because they're absolute garbage and only focus on this. You're going to have smaller volumes, high potency, blah, 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 blah. Start with niche data. If you have any questions on that, feel free to shoot me a DM. Boom. Okay. Amar says, got my data syndicate call this week. Cool. Setting up my Go high-level chatbots this weekend. Sweet. Leaving Medellin tomorrow. Back to Canada. Setting my vision for 2025. Ready to dominate this business. Dude, thank you. I appreciate you. But studio off. Literally look at what he's doing. Got his data from Data Syndicate. That is a niche data provider that gives you fresh courthouse data. So it's pure data. In my opinion, it's the purest data. And then he's using Go high level, which is a CRM. But here's the key. Chatbots. I think you mentioned SMS. Yep, studio off. You asked about SMS earlier. Go high level. So Amar was on the call on Sunday. Go high level chatbots. They're AI-based bots that you can have text sellers for you. So you can upload the best quality list. And then instead of having a texting platform that sends one template or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 templates to 10,000 people, you want a system that allows an AI bot to have dynamic conversations with sellers for you, extract some pain, extract some motivation, extract some things, and then appointment set for you. Fundamentally, what Amar is doing is basically, in my opinion, the most optimal way to do SMS. So 100%, literally what Amar is doing, that is what you should copy. Okay, let me do this. Let's look at the next one. Back to Canada. Bro, I didn't know you were in Colombia right now. We talked about you being in Canada. I thought you were in Canada right now. Okay. Oh my God. I'm like, guys, just so you guys know, if I'm looking here, I'm looking at my other monitor. I'm like seeing the notes from the call, the training. It was a 4-hour training. So trying to get all this fit into like 45 minutes is extremely difficult. I'm not going to go in depth on texting or PPL or PPC. If you guys want to know about my feelings about PPL, just know it's going to be extremely, extremely restricted. I went really deep on this during the training on Sunday about what is happening like right now in the PPL space. Just know that if you're new or you're intermediate and you think that PPL or PPC are going to be the things that actually get you to the next level right now, and you are not a pro at optimization, one, PPL is not optimal at all. There's no way to optimize it. It's intentionally built that way. But two, especially with PPC, I would not do that. I would learn how to clean up and get the most and the highest ROI out of lower spend channels that are a lot more granular and scientific, like cold calling, like texting, heck, even like direct mail, because you're spending a lot less money than you would on a PPC campaign. And those things are going to crush. I think PPL, I'm not going to get into it. You guys can feel free to click on the YouTube channel, go back to a few weeks ago. There was like a title that says, it was an episode titled something to the effect of new government bans on entrepreneurship. Go watch that. It'll show, I literally screen shared and I showed you guys the FTC's website, and we went over at the time what they said was, or what they are saying is going to be happening to that type of industry. So I would not be relying on PPL right now at all. I think that's very irresponsible and not going to go well for you. Love texting, love cold calling, love direct mail. Oh, I'm going to hit on personnel really quick because we don't have a ton of time. We're already out. Okay. Ooh, optimize. I keep getting a lot of people who are coming to me, and they're like, hey, they want to optimize their team, right? They want to optimize production on their team. So they know they have the right leads. They know they have the right systems. But what ends up happening is they're like, hey, my people aren't performing, okay? This is almost always why. Stop freaking hiring your friends. Stop hiring people from communities you're in, mentorships you're in, masterminds you're in. Why? Because those people are there to build their own ship, not build yours, fundamentally. You cannot optimize that. You cannot optimize personnel specifically, especially when you're hiring other entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs very often, I can almost guarantee you that none of you guys here who are having personnel issues, the ones you're having personnel issues, you're probably paying them on commission and they're not W-2 hires. I can almost guarantee that. And especially if you're hiring people from masterminds or mentorships or communities you're in, right? I can guarantee they are definitely not W-2 hires. And at the most, they're 1099. And here's the thing with 1099, I don't know if you guys need this, with 1099, you're extremely restricted. You can't dictate their work hours. You can't issue them a certain amount of tools and systems. There's a lot of government restrictions on that. And because you can't do that, and you effectively don't own the employee, I know it's really mean to say, but you don't own the employee, you can't optimize. That's a huge thing. So if you're hiring from communities or friends, I promise you it is not going to work. Ooh, I'm just going to copy and paste some of the stuff because some of the stuff is gold. Okay, here's another one. Oops. We called it the big three. Just so you guys know, Marlon and I are going to redo that series completely and turn it into like mini master classes. Because you guys know who've been here, like Victor, you've been here with a long time. Amari, you follow, I think, Big quite a bit. And you guys know that on YouTube, because it's YouTube, it's a lot more laid back and we're kind of just flowing and it's not super structured. But the big three are 3 episodes that we did specifically on hiring. And I think it was just because like Marlon wasn't there and I had nothing else to talk about. So I talked about building teams. What we're going to do is we're going to redo them very structured. And then we're going to redo this old series that we did last year called Lead Gen Mastery. Don't watch that. We're going to redo all of it and make it applicable to 2025. And then for all of 2025, like it's going to be the holy grail. It's the big 3 of hiring, the Lead Gen Mastery specifically. It's going to be amazing. But to save you some time, so you don't have to go watch the Lead Gen, the big 3, you can. I think it was episode 73, 74, 75. I can't remember exactly which ones they were. DM me on Instagram and I'll shoot them to you when I find them. Indeed-based hiring. Okay, so when you're going to hire, especially American hires, hire off Indeed. Hire off actual job boards. Why? Because the people who are going to job boards like Indeed, like Jobs.com, like all these things, guess what? They are looking for a job. They are looking for a W-2 setup. They're not looking to become the leader of the show. They're not looking to have their name be on the sign. They are there to basically serve a purpose in the greater collective. Hire off Indeed. Get used to it. You need to. I think too often we're spoiled in our communities by just putting up a freaking Facebook post. Like who wants to work for me? But you're putting into a Facebook post where everyone there wants their own financial freedom and to be their own boss. You cannot grow your business predictably this way. If you want to get to 10 plus deals per month consistently and close them consistently, you cannot do that with that method. You have to own the personnel. Commission only is fine in the beginning. Okay. I'm going to say this. Commission only is fine, but if you're spending money on leads, right? If you're spending money on like data and direct mail and calling and VAs and PPL or PPC, whatever the hell you're doing, you need to have people be held to standards. The problem with commission is that you can't actually hold people to standards because legally they are not, like, you actually don't own their time. There's actually no exchange. It is just an exchange if they produce. But if they don't produce, you can't actually penalize them too much legally because there's no actual work agreements involved with commission-based. And if there is a work agreement involved, they don't hold up in court very well if the person's time isn't being paid for. So remember, if you want to hold people to standards, they need to be W-2 hires, just the way it is. Oh my God, multi-step hiring process with filters, beautiful. This one, I think, surprised a lot of people. I'm going to copy and paste this one. I don't hire people who were car salesmen. They were door-to-door solar. Why? They're typically douchebags. Like, some are not. And if you were a car salesman and you do solar, and you follow us, you're probably an amazing human being. But in my experience, this is what ends up happening. And I want to talk about the psychology of why. I want competition in my team. I want competition in my team, but I want healthy competition in my team. Like that's a real thing. Problem with guys who are in car sales, I don't know if you guys have ever worked in car sales or you have friends who do, they'll tell you it's like cutthroat at a car dealership. It is an absolutely cutthroat industry. It's very, very, very interesting. let's see. Oh crap, questions. Data center cost 5.5 for one county. Studio off, bro. Go book a call with them. I'm telling you right now, just get on a call with them. Tell them I sent you, and that is not going to be your price, bro. Go and actually book a call with them. Okay, car salesman. Cutthroat industry. Cutthroat industry. They compete, but they don't compete for the team's good. They compete for their own independent good, right? I like solar guys who door knock and they've door knocked excessively. They're great too. Here's the problem with most solar guys or door to door guys. If you guys have ever worked like or seen guys who come from like, and I know this because I've just hired enough of them to have seen this over and over and over again. When you get guys from solar, pest control, lawn care, roofing, especially, oh my God, roofing. And then security, they all do door knocking. If you guys notice, they always do this one thing. It's usually two guys, there can be females, but it's usually two guys who have a preset route and they just door knock all day. They're like 4 or 5 hours, right? And here's the thing with that. They have no oversight. So the problem with those guys is they kind of just do whatever they want all day. And that's great for them and it's fun. And they have a great atmosphere doing that because it's usually just two bros hanging out. The problem with that is when you bring them into a controlled environment and you say, hey, I need you to perform basically every minute of every hour of every day, they don't respond well to oversight, especially if they've been in solar or roofing or pest, or I shouldn't have put solar, I should have put door to door. If they've been in door to door for too long, very often they don't do well with oversight because they're not used to it. And so they like to have it their own way. They like to not have someone monitoring them and checking their KPIs and doing all these things. They don't like it. It's not something they're used to. And so when you do that and you hire these guys, there very often is friction when you try to hold them to standards, and it's just not good. What do I like? Let's see. I think I maybe put this here somewhere. Ooh, love this one. Freaking love this one. So we're going to get rid of these guys here. I like hiring people who are former military, former law enforcement, and collegiate athletics. Why not high school athletics? Because you guys were probably in high school like 20 years ago. That's too far away. College is usually a little bit more recent. And also when you get to college, I'm sorry, but nothing against people who are high school athletes. At the collegiate level, the team spirit is a whole different ballgame. It's a culture thing. If you guys like, I'm sure you guys remember your high school football team. Cool, some team spirit, but it's like you go to a big university, guys have a master's degree, I've been at major universities. Oh my God, like football, baseball, tennis, all of it, like the entire community rallies together. It's so much bigger than the independent person. So why these three specifically? Military, law enforcement, they all put you through academies and people suffer together. Like that's the key. It is being a part of a team. It's being part of a collective. That's huge. They understand the collective suffering required. Is there a ton of suffering in real estate? No, not really. Like we're just pounding the phone all day. It's pretty easy. Like I would say this, it's simple, may not be easy, but it is simple. And your life's not on the line. It's a privilege to do what we do. And so, but they understand collectively having to do things that absolutely feel like they suck to, boost the team. Healthy competition. I love athletes. I love law enforcement. I love military because they understand healthy competition. They're always competing. Most military academies, they have a ranking system. There's usually a top of the class. There's a ranking system. There's like a pecking order. Same thing with law enforcement, almost across the board. Like most law enforcement academies will have a ranking order in the academy itself. And so they play for ranks. But it's in a healthy, controlled environment. And it's not like I'm going to screw you over, because with all these things with military and law enforcement, there's usually a high degree of ethics and integrity. Like there's a standard of ethics and integrity that's required. And so they can't just step on each other too much and do unethical things. Whereas in car sales, oh my God, it's cutthroat, absolutely cutthroat. But in these industries, not so much. They want to win. They want to beat their best friend, but they're not going to trip their best friend to do it. So I love competition with integrity. And this is one of the biggest things, guys, right here. Chain of command. If you guys don't know what chain of command is, it basically just means a structure, a layered structure where communication has to go through. And so it just means that a new boot at the academy, when he has a question, he doesn't just go to the general, right? He has to go and talk to, usually they're broken up into squads, his squad leader. And then the squad leader can't answer it. They have to go talk to one of their drill sergeants. The drill sergeant can't answer it. He goes talks to the next person. And what ends up happening is you have this very consistent protocol of how to communicate effectively and how to take orders effectively. And so when you have people with these backgrounds, they fit so well into a team. They understand how to be a team player, right? They understand how to play for each other. They understand chain of command. Oh my God, they're not just going to break culture or ruin and have all these usually can be very quickly toxic interactions when they don't listen to the person who was supposed to be their manager. And this is something that I've realized very much, especially with car sales guys and solar guys, is that if you tell them, hey, new boot, this is your sales manager. If you have any questions, you report to them. Okay. And like they're your boss. Almost always they will show that person no respect at all. Because they're like, Sam, you own the company. You're my boss. You're the one that hired me. I'm not going to answer to that guy. He doesn't know anything and I know more than him. So I'm going to come to you every time. And what ends up happening for me is you just disrespected the entire system that we built by circumventing your boss. And when you do that in front of everyone else. You're showing everyone else on the team that the boss isn't worth listening to, and you can just go straight to the owner. And so for you guys need to understand that. Huge, huge. I think one more thing, I'm not going to end the probation period because that is too good. Optimization with personnel very often literally just looks like this. I get calls every now and then from friends of mine who are doing $1 million+ a year. They're making good money. They're crushing it. And very often not every time, but very often, they all come to me with the same issue. They're like, Sam, I have a high performer who crushes it. Very much like a car sales guy. Very high degree of independent talent, but they suck. They're hard to work with. They're not coachable. They're not this, they're not that. And this exclusively, and I've learned my lesson on this because I was like, oh no, if they're great, they're great, right? No, culture is all that matters. All that matters is culture. Nothing else matters. If someone is toxic to the culture, you need to cut them out immediately. Cut out the cancer immediately. You need to cut them out before the cancer spreads because it will spread. So I don't have a ton of time. Oh crap, we're 15 minutes over. Oh my God. Guys, I appreciate you. We're way over time. I'm going to stop sharing. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know. Anytime it's a solo episode, I just get to kind of decide what I want to do. And then a lot of people were DMing me asking for the recap or the recording. And I'm like, I'm not going to give you a recording, but might as well share some key points that I think are important. It was a 4-hour training, so I try to fit it here in the last 45 minutes. The things that I think are super important. But guys, if you have questions, shoot me a DM on Instagram. And just know this, I polled the audience on Sunday. And you guys know I don't do masterclasses very often. The last actual signature masterclass was 8 months ago in March. I polled the audience and everyone collectively agreed that the next signature masterclass, which is coming in Q1, has to be all about how to recruit, hire, train, and retain top tier talent so you can build a scalable team. That's going to be the most intensive training I've ever done. It's going to take me probably about a month or two just to make it. So if you guys are interested in that, and you guys want to be in on that, just shoot me a DM on Instagram. That one's going to be coming up soon. I appreciate you all. Oh shit, let me do this. Okay, I appreciate you all. You guys go crush it, and I'll see you next week. Peace.